Hey everybody, welcome. It's Dr. Levi, and welcome to your show, the Dr. Levi Show. Today is February the 17th, 2016. A few days after beautiful Valentine's Day. Hope everyone had a great one. I definitely did, and I hope you did. So it's beautiful here in Los Angeles, and we have a great guest I'm going to share with you shortly. I want to remind you that this is Heart Month, so it's a time when you should really reflect on what you're doing to be healthy. Are you exercising? Are you making mindful choices about what you eat? Because remember, you are what you eat, you are what you drink, you are what you smoke. Therefore, don't smoke, drink less, and make mindful choice about what you eat with respect to choosing more fruits, nuts, vegetables, and grains, and those foods that you know energize your body, make you feel good, and that give you the energy to get on with the day. The goal here is as you eat well, of course, you have enough energy to do exactly what you want to do, and more importantly, to live a life of service. Now, before we get started, I want to thank everyone in Germany, Dan Cole and all of the guys there in the armed services. And I also want to thank Vicky from Simi Valley for being such a staunch supporter of the show. I just want to tell you guys I'm really, really grateful. And I remind you that this show, the Dr. Levi Show, is really about supporting veterans and reminding everyone that those women and men who sacrifice so much, that they remain the true heroes of America. When you talk about the Avengers and superheroes, well, the veterans are those people. So we really should do our best to respect them and be mindful of what they've contributed to this country. Now, I want to tell you about our guest. Our guest is a guy that takes food very seriously. He takes heart health very seriously. And whenever I'm around him, I feel like I'm around a principal. I want to sit up straight, my shoulder square, my head up, and I want to make sure that I choose the apple and not the cupcake. It's really very interesting. So, and in this studio here, of course, for the show, there are no cupcakes. There are no chocolates and candies, but often I'm thinking about them sometime, actually. But with Chef Bryce around, I actually feel guilty. I feel like, oh, Levi, no, the chef's in the house. Be careful, young man. Mm-hmm. So I want to welcome to the show today Chef Bryce with the American Heart Association. I want to say thanks for being with the chef.
Hey, good morning, doctor. Good morning. Glad to be here, man.
Always happy to have you.
Hey, don't make me out to be, as my daughter says, the food police.
Well, you
in moderation. We
right,
can have
right.
some sweets, but, you know.
All in moderation.
Yeah, moderation.
Well,
she calls me the food police officer.
Really, let me tell you,
so I had to back down a little bit.
I feel that way when you're around me, and I eat really healthy, but when you're around,
I
just feel like, the chef's in the house. Let me just, let me not even look at that.
No. You know, I tell people that, you know, everything in moderation, and
yes.
You know, what actually happens is the more you eat fresh whole food, the less you crave the sweet stuff. But I don't tell people to eliminate it fully, because I think that's just not something that can actually happen.
Absolutely.
You know, if you want to have a cupcake every now and then great, but that shouldn't be your everyday.
Right.
It would not sustain you for what's going on in this world.
Exactly. And I want to say too, if you have a cupcake, I want to remind everyone gluten-free is the way to go. I'm a big gluten-free kind of guy. So, Chef, where are you from now?
I'm originally from Ann Arbor, Michigan, but I've been in Los Angeles for almost 25 years, man.
Really? That's quite a while.
Yeah, I've been in California 25 years.
Well, what about the food industry? How did you go from Michigan to L.A. and get into food? Where did that love come from?
Yeah, I actually started working in the food industry in college at Howard University as a waiter. I had a friend that came by and said, have you ever waited tables? I said, no. He said, we make about $500 a night in tips.
So
I said, I'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out, right?
Yeah, I'll figure that out. So I figured it out, and actually ended up working at that place for about 2 years and moved from waiter to supervisor. Wow. And while I was there, you know, I always talked to the chef and was in the kitchen asking questions, and just fell in love with the industry and food, and then also, you know, the service part of it. You know, really, you know, being able to provide that service for a person and then walk away from having an experience that they tell other people about. I really enjoyed that. So that's how I got the bug of being in the food industry.
Well, what about your mom or dad? Were they culinary artists? Were they in the food industry?
Not at all.
Oh, not at all.
Sorry.
My
mom has passed away. I'm sorry. You know, rest her soul.
Right.
My father is still alive. He can't cook. My mother was the youngest of 10, and I think the only thing I remember her making was maybe some spaghetti and maybe fried chicken.
You're going to get it later, man.
You know?
Your family's going to get you in.
Yeah, but I actually had an aunt that helped raise me, who was actually known as the cook of the family. And she was also the one her and my uncle, who actually would go to take me to farmers markets when I was younger. I mean, people think that that's a brand new thing, but that's something that when I told her about it before she passed, I was telling her, hey, people are buying their food from farmers markets, getting organic, and kind of explaining everying to her.
Yes.
She was listening like, what are you talking about?
We've been doing that.
I've been doing that for years, right? So
Right.
she introduced me to whole fresh food. We used to have conversations when I lived with them about, from everything. Like I remember going and getting tomatoes, and they would talk about, whether the tomatoes were better than last season, or corn or green beans. And it wasn't that I didn't eat, junk, but it was having that balance that, she gave me. So I would have to say her name was Bessie Newton. She was actually the food, if you want to say foodie in the family. And the one to know
so
for
she
cooking.
really helped to stimulate your interest in
exactly.
how to choose properly.
Yes, and gave me that foundation there. I will say, to back up a little bit, my father and my mother, one of the greatest gifts that they gave me is the gift of being physically active.
That's
exercise. Great. My mother actually was an avid swimmer. She taught me to swim at like 7. My father played basketball and sports, and so I was always into sports from like 7 or 8.
Always physically active.
Always basketball, track, soccer, cross country, baseball.
Now, what about brothers and sisters? Did you have?
I have 2 younger sisters. Actually, one of my middle sisters, she actually got a volleyball scholarship to college.
That's great.
That's one of the greatest gifts that I can tell, one of the things that parents can give their kids is giving them that foundation of also being physically active.
Right. Now, what about your kids now? Because you have children. What do you do to foster that into them?
It's funny you say that. I have 2 older sons that are out of the house. Both of them, my older son, he had a track scholarship to Berkeley.
Oh,
so,
that's great.
And then my younger son, he played basketball all the way up into high school. He actually walked on his first year of college. And played in college. And so they're both physically active. My daughter, who is 9, she plays soccer. But one of the great things that we do, we have, and I'm a huge fan now of wearable, technology.
Yes.
We have a Fitbit, so we go work out together, or we compete, or she'll check my Fitbits. How many steps did you have today?
So,
I got more steps
tracked.
than you. So we make it into a competition, which makes it fun,
Absolutely.
and that's what your kids love as well. So she's an avid swimmer also.
That's
we swim
fantastic.
together.
Great.
When it's warm. I mean, we could swim now. It's so hot out here. But
it's beautiful here right now.
Yeah, so just trying to, make it fun and make it a lifestyle.
Exactly.
Thing. Yeah.
One thing I always tell people is that when it comes to fitness and eating well, it is just that. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's not something you do because you're going to get ready for the prom or for a wedding or for a big event. You have to have this as a sustained part of your life.
Yes.
What you eat and exercise. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah. Think of it as, like you said, something that you want to sustain.
Yes.
Oftentimes people want to work towards, like you said, I'm going on a vacation or I'm want to look good or I want to lose 5 pounds. And what I've seen throughout my years always is that when people do it that way, they always, most of the time, tend to gain the weight back.
Absolutely.
Because they don't make it a part of their routine.
Right.
And they're thinking about, how they look, which is fine. We all want to look well. But one of the things that exercise does for you, actually, it also helps you mentally.
Yes.
So you're able to deal and cope with stress.
Absolutely.
It also, people don't know that you can lower your blood pressure a couple points by exercising.
Right.
Your blood sugar level can go down.
Absolutely.
So people who are, pre-diabetic or diabetic, I have seen when you lose the weight or you get into an exercise routine, that you get away from the medication.
You're absolutely right.
So they don't think about all those things.
Right.
They're thinking about, I want to look good. And, 9 times out of 10, they tend to go back to not exercising.
Absolutely.
So
one thing I often tell people when I give lectures about fitness and health is I remind folks that you really want to look good from the inside out.
Yeah, that's an excellent
everybody's
point.
worrying about the aesthetic on the outside, the big guns and the curvaceous body, but and a six-pack, but what about what you're doing on the inside? What about your arteries?
Yeah.
What about your heart? We know that heart disease is the number 1 killer of men and women in America.
Yes.
The number 1 killer.
Number 1 killer. I'm glad you brought that up because it's Heart Month, and heart disease kills more people than all cancers combined.
Absolutely.
So cancer does a better job PR-wise, but a lot of people don't know it's heart disease that's the number 1 killer. And for women, like you said, women, it is their number 1 cause of death.
Yes.
So the camera's right there. I'm going to speak to the women.
Right.
There is right now, we have a visit called Well Woman Visit where you can go in and get a prevention checkup.
Right.
If you go on heart.org, you can see that information. And they'll get your blood work, you get your blood sugar check, your high blood pressure, cholesterol, all those things. And I'm speaking directly to women because women oftentimes take care of everybody else
And not themselves.
You
got it.
So I like to use the analogy, Doctor. I was just on a flight, had a chance to go on vacation, and I like to use the analogy of, when they tell you, put your face mask, your oxygen mask on first.
Yes, exactly.
And then your child.
Right.
A lot of people, or especially moms, would think, well, I'm going to protect my child first. But it's saying, like, if you don't have oxygen, which is if you don't have your health, how can you be here to take care of your kids?
Exactly right. You can't do it.
And I'm a testament to that. I lost my mother to heart disease. She had 2 aneurysms, a brain and a heart aneurysm, and she left at an early age.
Right.
And when I look at my daughter and my sons, I realize that, wouldn't it be great for her to be here?
Absolutely.
And 80% of it is preventable.
It really is. So. It really is. As we talk about women, I want to add to our listening audience, especially for women, is that when it comes to heart attacks and heart disease, often women will have very different symptomatology than men. And I want to go over some of these things briefly. For example, often a man will complain about having a feeling of an elephant sitting on his chest, a feeling of heartburn, or not feeling well, or very fatigued. Women sometimes will have abdominal pain in their stomach, may have pain in the side of their jaw, may have a slight feeling of discomfort in their heart or in their abdomen, may have back pain even. Mm-hmm. So, and sometimes just have a feeling of indigestion. But many women, there are many studies that have shown that women who go for the first time to the ER because of heart pain or heart issues are often sent back home thinking that it's histrionic or it's anxiety, and that they're not really taken seriously. So I want to say to women out there specifically, and to men, because we're together with women, is that if your spouse or friend or sister or brother or aunt or mother, if they're having problems and they go to the ER, make sure that they're not discounted and not just thought to be having indigestion. Make sure that the EKG is done. Make sure they do the proper tests in labs to make sure that their heart is healthy and that they're not having some form of heart issue. It's very, very important. So that's a great point you made, Chef. It really is.
And,
it really
and yours
is.
as well. I mean, do your due diligence.
Absolutely.
And, it's great, like you said, to understand the different signs between the men and women. So,
and one other point I want to say about women, sometimes it's been known that women will have something called this impending feeling of doom, whereby they know something just feels bad. They don't know what, but they know they're not themselves. And they go again to the ER and they're just thought, no, you're okay, just go back home, you're fine. And many of them never make it back to the ER. So it's so important if you feel something is off, that your body doesn't feel correct, if you're having tingling numbness in your hand or fingers, if you're having numbness on the side of your jaw, if you're having a feeling of nausea. All of these things are very different from the symptomatology of men, but they should not be discounted. That's what I want. That's the point here today. Women should be valued, they should be loved, they should be honored, but more importantly, they should be respected and listened to. That's important.
Yeah.
So the other thing I want to ask you about, Chef, is what about your involvement with the American Heart Association? How did that come about? Because that's a great companion.
And that's a great
there.
question, man. I mean, that's just God and a blessing. I actually had my own catering company for about 7 years, and in the midst of doing that, the Urban League was actually one of my clients, and the director of health, who I used to cater the event collaborative for, she said, "Why don't you stay? We have some people I want you to meet." And one of those persons worked for American Heart Association. When I talked to this young lady, she said, "Hey, we love to have a caterer that could do some healthy stuff. We always get caterers who don't want to do it or don't know how to do it." Mm-hmm. So I did a couple events, and then I actually did a demo event. And her coworker, who is my boss now, came up to me afterwards and said she enjoyed the demonstration and that she was over planting gardens in inner city schools throughout LA.
Yes.
Oftentimes when they have harvest day, they have stuff like eggplant that comes to harvest. Everybody's excited, the kids, the family, but they're like, "What the heck do we do with this eggplant?" Right. Why don't? She said, "Would you come in and maybe be a chef and come in and do a demo and show them different ways to prepare fruits and vegetables?"
Yes.
Yeah, I'll do that. Went well, and then afterwards I went to her. I said, "This is like the sister program of your program. So you're showing kids and families where food comes from.
Exactly.
Now the next thing is showing them how to prepare it and how to prepare it in a healthy manner.
Yes.
And why is it's so important for your life."
Right.
She said, "Hold that thought. We're thinking of a couple things." She came back to me and said, "You know what? We're thinking about hiring our first ever chef for American Heart throughout the whole company
Which
to run a program which goes into schools and teaches kids how to eat and cook healthy. Would you be interested? And here I am 2 years later.
It's fantastic.
Right, and I've impacted probably about 1,000 kids so far.
It's fantastic.
It's some of the best work that actually it's the best work that I ever done.
Right.
Every day I work with kids, I learn something different, and understanding that making this investment in them now.
Yes.
So what I'm looking at is 10 years, 15 years from now, the information that these kids are learning,
right.
I'm hoping, or I know it's going to affect that and change that trend of all, childhood obesity, heart disease, everything that's going on in this country. So it's an investment that we have to make in our young people. Prevention is cheaper.
It definitely is. I mean, that's very
bottom
well
line.
said. Because it's so important what you're doing, because it also, if you think about it, your impact, Chef Bryce, is really generational. Because as you impact these teenagers and even younger age children, you will remind them to choose properly, and hopefully when they have kids, and they'll remind their kids.
I never thought about
so
that.
What you're doing is a great legacy. I really
appreciate that.
I think it's phenomenal. I really salute you.
Yeah, I salute you, but I appreciate it because, like I said, every time I just had class yesterday, and I brought in dragon fruit and I brought in blood oranges. And I had a circle. Everybody in the class wanted to taste it, and they all wanted me to bring it back the next time. Wow. And then they taught me something. It was like, oh, this looks like I think it was tuna, which is a Spanish, like a cactus.
Yes.
And they said this looked like the cactus that we eat, and so they taught me something. So
fantastic.
I'm a student of food and health.
Absolutely.
I learn something every day. I don't know everything. I'm constantly feeding myself with information. And getting information from the kids that I'm surrounded with.
And the children are great because the wonderful thing about them, there's no filter.
Yes,
they tell you the truth.
Exactly.
If they really like you, they like you.
Yes,
they don't like
true.
you,
That's
they don't like you. They don't like the food,
point.
they say it tastes nasty.
Yes.
It really tastes nasty to them. There's no gray zone.
Yeah, and that's what I love, that transparency.
Absolutely.
And I tell them, I say, look, this is a class of exploration. You do not have to like everything, but what we're going to do is we're going to taste everything.
Right.
And then if you do not like it, then you're going to articulate why you don't like it.
Exactly.
So I want you to start to become more in tune with your palate. Is it too salty? Is it too sweet? Is it too bitter?
Right.
What would you do to it to make it better?
True.
So it's giving them that ownership and giving them the self-esteem and letting them understand that it's okay. I don't like every fruit and vegetable I taste, but there's thousands. So,
absolutely.
You keep on trying, and there's something that you will like.
Absolutely. As you said that, it made me think of my mother. When I was a kid, I used to hate Brussels sprouts.
Oh, you too?
I hated them. I love them now.
The same. Oh, that's crazy you brought that up.
Right. Well, let me tell you.
Same way here.
Oh, I hated them. So let me tell you, she prepared them. My mother is an extraordinary cook.
Yes.
And she prepared them. I would sit there and I'd look at them, and I hated the way they smelled. They smelled real like cabbage.
That odor that
I
comes
couldn't
out
stand
of
it, man.
Yeah.
So I would sit there and I would say, Ma, I don't like them. And she would say, Levi, that's okay, baby. You don't have to like them. You just have to eat them.
I like that.
Just like that.
I like that.
And the look she
like
gave me
that.
was
I
real,
like
you don't get up from
You
the
don't have to
table.
like 'em.
You don't have to like, but you do have to eat them.
Yes.
And when I would feel like I had fear.
Exactly. I'm going to be at this table all night.
It's pretty. And sometimes I would be there for hours.
See, I had a dog, so my aunt, she would just boil them. Which, if, like you said, now people understand, like if you roast them, it brings out, a little bit of the sweetness of it. This is why, like I always tell kids, like there may be something that you say you don't like, and it may be the way it's prepared.
Yes.
So you may, like 5 years from now, somebody may prepare it a certain way.
Absolutely.
So she would boil them in water, and that's it. But I had a dog, so I was a little bit slicker. I would put it in the napkin and then just do like this, put it under the tape. But I had a healthy dog, right?
No heart disease.
No heart. Hey, that dog lived for a while.
Absolutely.
She said, you eat those Brussels sprouts? Yeah. I sure did.
So I got to tell you, I love them now.
Yes,
I have them almost
I'm the
every
same.
other night. I love them smoked. I love them with a little balsamic vinegar.
Oh, my daughter does too, and she, like I was saying, my daughter's 9. She says she hates kale, but she loves Brussels sprouts. She loves cucumbers. So, I always tell parents, let your kids explore and try stuff. Get them involved in the process.
Absolutely.
But do one thing also: pay attention to what they like, because oftentimes as adults and parents, we are trying to push our agenda or what we like. But I've noticed from working with a lot of kids, like oh, I don't like this, but I have tomatoes, and they'll be grabbing tomatoes to take after class.
Absolutely.
So hey, you know,
what's the interaction like with the parents? I'm sure the children are really they're on cloud nine working with you. What's the interaction with the parents? Are they just as happy that you're involved with them? What is that like?
Yeah, you know what? The last class we invite parents. I invite parents all the time, but a lot of them are working.
Right.
But in the last class we have a celebration, and you know, the kids make something or make a dish and we eat together. Last year I had a parent. We had a award ceremony where we gave them out certificates, and man, like 90% of the parents showed up, which was beautiful. But I was sitting down, ready, getting prepared, and one of the parents said, "So glad to meet you. So you're Chef Bryce?" She's like, "My daughter is on a diet," and I was like, "Diet? No, I never say anything about diet." She says, "No, I mean she's watching what she eats now."
That's fantastic.
Her portions. She was lowering the amount of food that she used to eat. She used to eat large portions.
Right.
And every time I asked her something, she said, "Well, Chef Bryce said."
That's fantastic.
So I'm in trouble. But it wasn't like she wasn't like you're in trouble. She was like, "Thank you for giving that influence to my children."
Wow, that's
now
fantastic.
what'll happen? You know what I tell people? Like I work with kids 6 weeks, once a week. And then I go to different schools. So what will happen is maybe your kid, or we all deviate, or maybe start eating stuff. But at least you have that foundation. You have that basic of that you now know. Okay, I do know what fresh whole food does for my body. I do enjoy it.
Exactly.
And so maybe it'll circumvent some of all this junk that is surrounding a lot of our young people. So, but the parents, I had a parent call me last year and said, "Hey, my son wants to make his own salsa line."
Really?
After the class, he's saying, "So can you give me any tips?" Because now he's talking about, "Mom, you got to get me labels.
Really?
I got to talk to Chef Bryce. He has to taste it." I mean,
that's fantastic.
Man, can you ask for more than
that?
You can't. Like that's a beautiful thing.
Because think about that. You're stimulating the entrepreneurial spirit as well as their education about how to bring something to the market to better the health of other people.
Yeah.
Again, generational impact you're having, Chef Bryce. It's fantastic.
And then thank you so much. And parents will say, I had a principal tell me like 2 kids that were in my class, they're older, but they're siblings, could not get along. The parents said, "Hey, both of my kids were in there. They can't get along, but since they took the class, they now make smoothies together, green smoothies, and they have the whole family eating it now."
That's great, man.
And they don't argue when they're cooking or making smoothies together.
They just argue after.
Yeah, probably after. But I'm like, she's like, they got us eating apple kale smoothies. Like what? I was like, "Hey man, that's the beautiful
That's fantastic.
thing."
It really is.
Parent, you know how kids are. If they're excited about something, they're going to take it back home.
They're going to take it home. They're going to take it home. Speaking of home, what is home like for you? Are you the Chef Bryce at home with your wife and kids? Or does your wife do the cooking and you're delegated to just making a salad, for example?
So what will happen is that a lot of times, because I'm in classes late and driving home, my wife will cook a lot of stuff, but then I usually try to cook at least something 2 to 3 times a week.
Yes.
Just from a creativity standpoint.
Right.
And just because that's what I love to do, and I kind of feel disconnected if
don't.
I'm not creating or cooking something. So it just depends on the week.
Now I have a loaded question for you too now, and I know what you're going to say, but it's a loaded question. Is your wife a good cook?
Yes.
I know you're going to say that.
I'm
no
on
matter
camera.
what.
I'm on the radio. The best ever.
You see the best ever.
And while we're here, I will say that when my wife and I were dating, she is, and I have to give her, hats off, because she was the one who, at the time, I've always been into exercise, but I deviated my diet, and she was the one who was really into eating healthier. And then when our daughter was born, she was very, very adamant and strict about what she fed Layla.
That's perfect.
And that's something that's followed her. So I was blessed to have that.
That's
like
great.
She was on top of, oh, we can't feed her this. This has this chemicals in it, and so she was the one who was the the influencer.
She was real clear about surveying everything.
Yes. Wow. And that foundation, like,
yes,
because a lot of kids that I work with, I noticed that what happens is oftentimes is that if you're not feeding your kids fruits and vegetables and whole food at a young age, not that they can't change, but I see that they're not used to eating that way, so that's why they feel like this is foreign. I always, I joke with them. I'm like, they're like, I'll maybe have like a fruit or a vegetable, and I say, "Let's taste this," and they'll look at it crazy, and I was like, "Why are you looking at this? This is real food. This isn't Cheetos. Now you eat Cheetos all the time, but when I give you something that comes from the earth,
they look at it like it's strange."
Yeah, it's like, well, I can't do that. So I was blessed in that regard, and then she is a great cook, and so we balance it out. I'm not Chef Bryce at home. My daughter likes to tell me, like, why do people want to talk to you?
Oh, really?
Like,
She says that?
you're not important.
She says that?
Yeah, kids are just to bring
Oh,
you
yeah.
down.
She tells you the truth.
Yeah. So keep you humble, man.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
Now, as you continue to expand with the American Heart Association, what's on the horizon for you with them? What other things are coming up?
We've expanded to Long Beach,
Yes.
Santa Ana. I'm working with a after-school provider who oversees about 120 schools in LA to try to see if we can come together and partner and maybe get some more funding to just expand in all their locations.
Right.
So if you talk about 125 schools, maybe 40, 50 kids at each school. So that's an area. I'm actually also doing something that I just came to me one day driving. I said, I want kids to have like that great day, like that day you leave school where you say, man, that was a great day. But I want it to be around food and fitness. So I partnered with AHA and I partnered with Whole Foods Market, and they bring a pop-up farmers market to the school.
Which is great.
Let the kids shop. Then we also have an exercise, so Jumprope Contest.
Right.
We have a garden area where they can take some seeds home and garden. We have a tug of war. We have what else do we have? Jump rope, tug of war, potato sack race.
Oh, really?
So we're going to do 3 this year in partnership with Whole Foods.
Fantastic.
And it's just we have music, we have a DJ, and I had kids we did the first one last June. I've ran into kids like right before the end of the holiday when I went to their school. They're still talking about that day and how much fun it was. So we're going to continue to do things of that nature and continue to expand the program to impact. I mean, you know how big LA is just alone.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So we still have a lot more kids and families to impact.
Well, I think you're going to do it. I look forward, Chef Bryce and I are working on a program together also that we hope to launch this summer, whereby we will, again, partner together and talk and teach kids and parents how to, one, choose the food properly, how to clean it properly, how to cook it, and then, of course, how to enjoy this as the food afterwards, after you've cooked it, and also how to exercise properly and to have this as a part of your lifestyle. So our program, I look forward to that this summer.
I do, too, and like you said, I think that, the two of those combined, when you learn about, eating and cooking and eating healthier foods, and then you combine that with exercise, I mean, it's something that is going to last you. It's going to last you a lifetime, and you will see the benefits from a financial standpoint.
Absolutely.
I just want to add one thing. My father suffered from renal failure, right, and was able to get a kidney transplant a few years back. But when you look at the cost, I think he was telling me the cost for that, and he had great benefits, but the cost for that surgery is like almost $500,000. So when you look at stuff like, the cost of medication, the cost of care from things that, come from diet, you say, hey, prevention is a lot cheaper.
It's the key.
And if you don't have benefits like that, you just be on dialysis forever.
Right.
Lifestyles.
If your insurance allows that.
Exactly. Exactly.
One thing I always teach and I remind people is the following. That is, if you don't buy it, you won't eat it. If it's not in the house, then you don't have access to it.
It's true.
We only eat it because it's there. So if popcorn or eating a sleeve of Oreos or cookies or Cheetos or potato chips, if that's an issue, then don't buy it. Don't have it in the house.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have any willpower, so my kryptonite is chips.
Is it really?
So I don't keep a bag of chips in the house.
Right.
If I want one, I'll grab one, in moderation, but, while I'm out. But to your point, if it's there, 9 times out of 10, I mean, there's some people that are probably a lot stronger than me, but 9 times out of 10, if it's in your household, you're going to eat it.
Absolutely.
So one of the first steps I tell people is take a look at your refrigerator, your pantry.
Yes.
Pull out the soda, the sweets, the chips. Look at that stuff. Try to pull out most of that stuff out.
Right.
The microwave dinners, they have a lot of sugar and salt in them, all that processed stuff.
Right.
Gradually start to pull that out of your refrigerator.
Right.
I haven't I used to drink soda. I don't drink soda anymore. I don't even keep it in the household. Now it's water.
Right.
So it was a gradual change.
Right.
So people always, I think a lot of times, and you may agree with this, doctor, I think a lot of times your mind and your brain, people take for granted how much that can have an impact on change.
Absolutely.
A lot of times you talk yourself out of it mentally before you even before you even make a change.
I agree.
So you're thinking about, oh, I got so much to do. I can't do this, and this. And then so eventually mentally you talk yourself out of making any change.
Right.
As opposed to thinking about it, well, let me eliminate, like I drink coffee. I used to put sugar in my coffee. I ran into a person that worked at AHA. She said, oh, I just put a little cinnamon and cream. I said, oh, I'm going to try that.
Right.
3 years later, I don't put sugar in my coffee.
Right.
But it didn't happen overnight. It
Right.
was like, month after
Right.
month.
And you said it so well earlier. The issue here is always moderation, making small, sustainable steps so you can have long-term maintained goals and benefits. If you do it too quick, it's not going to last. Try to lose the weight too quickly, it's going to come back with company. So just make a small change and just sustain it.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you, Chef. As you evolve and see yourself grow into who you are, what do you think will be a part of your legacies? I think there will be many, not only your kids and your family, but what you're passing on with the American Heart Association. Yeah. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now, for example?
5 years from now, I would love to, have a school that teaches, kids not only nutritional education, but also some of the policies that play a part of affecting people, particularly people that live in underserved areas, on leading a healthier lifestyle.
Yes.
So they start to be those change makers, not only, learning how to prepare their meals in a healthy way, but also understand, okay, why do I go to certain neighborhoods and they have a fast food restaurant on every corner as opposed to when I go to someone else, and start to understand the policies that play a part in that.
Yes.
That's, long term. Legacy-wise, even further, my legacy, I just hope that, since it is also Black History Month.
Yes, it is.
I really hope that, I can be, people can look back on me and say that I was part of that change, that tradition that helped people in the African-American community lead a healthier lifestyle. Right now, we suffer twice as likely from heart disease, diabetes, stroke, all these preventable diseases. And that's been going on for a while. And it needs to stop.
Right.
It needs to change.
Right.
We need to be real and have real conversations. We need our grandmothers, our mothers, our fathers. We need them to be here, to help to take care of the next generation. Absolutely. So I want to be one of those chefs that's known to spreading that information and, and encouraging people that, hey, get out, exercise. Men, it's no longer cool to not go to the doctor and get your checkup. Or macho or whatever you think it is. Young people, start to pay attention to what you put in your body. I was at one of my middle schools last week, and we had a great meal. And then one of the teachers came in, and she said, this is just so great because a lot of my students, man, I see them walking in class at 8, 9 in the morning with a Monster Energy drink, hot flaming Cheetos, and donut at 9 in the morning, and Coca-Cola sometimes.
Wow.
So I said, so why do you think they're crashing by about 12 o'clock? Or in the morning, they're just jumping off the seats, acting crazy, can't pay attention. You're putting junk in your body.
Exactly.
So I want to be that, on that legacy to say, hey, man, I raised the awareness and made a little bit, made people conscious.
Absolutely.
And a little bit more aware of what they're doing.
And conscious of their choices, because I think if we simply read the ingredients. I always tell people if there's something that's polysyllabic, like
can't read
40 syllables, and you can't even read that,
can't read it.
Then that means most likely it's so man-made and synthetic it doesn't need to be in your body. If there's a lot of dye in it, a lot of preservative, a lot of MSG, a lot of stuff that you know these things aren't good, leave it alone.
Right.
Why not? Our bodies, one thing I think is so clear is that our bodies can only reflect what we do to them. If we exercise, we look like you exercise. You don't exercise, you look like you don't exercise.
Wow.
If you eat properly, well, hopefully your body will look like you eat properly. But if you don't eat properly, if you don't exercise, trust me, your body will definitely look like that. Yeah. That's a given.
Yeah. And I want to say,
inside and out.
You just made me think of something because a lot of times, working with young people.
Yes.
Or they think, well, when you're young, like I was young, we were all young. I thought,
I'm still
I can do
young.
whatever. Yeah, we're still. Yeah, let's take that. Right. Let's take that. I'll take that.
Yes.
I am still young.
Yes.
Despite what my daughter said.
Exactly.
She told me the other day, Daddy, you're too old to put LOL on it. I can't do anything. I can't do anything.
Then you should say OMG.
Right. Too old to use LOL.
Right.
So I tell kids, hey man, the habits that you develop now are probably they're gonna last your lifetime. Absolutely. I ran into a young kid in one of my classes. I had a class of all girls.
Yes.
It was like 25 girls I taught at actually a sheriff station in L.A.
Yes.
Excellent program. This boy kept coming. He was smart. He was like, I want to be in the class. I'm like, it's full, it's full. So finally he came every day. I said, okay, you can help me set up. As we're setting up, I said, you know what, you can stay this last class. And I had some kind of sauce, and he said, I can't have that.
Right.
And I said, well, why not? And he said, oh, I just can't. And so I kept pushing him.
Right.
He's 9 years old.
Uh-huh.
I said, why? He says, man, I have high blood pressure. And my mom, makes me watch my
9. That's
so
intense,
and he was serious about it. He wasn't joking. I could tell he was being honest.
Right.
Because the first 3 or 4 times I asked him, he really didn't want to share.
He
was a little bit embarrassed. And then finally, when I pushed him a little bit more, he said, it's because I have high blood pressure and my mom is helping me watch that. So I tell people, I've run into a lot of, I work with kids all day.
Yes.
I have run into kids who, have type 2 diabetes, who have high blood pressure, who, obviously are overweight, obese. So I always tell young people that, try to develop some healthy habits now.
Absolutely.
As opposed to waiting till you get older.
Yes.
Don't think that
you may not
it
get
won't
to get
happen
older.
to you.
Right.
When you're young, you always think like, I can do whatever. It's nothing going to happen to me. And I have seen it firsthand that, it can happen to
Definitely
you. If you don't put the right things in your body.
Absolutely.
If you don't exercise, that stuff can happen to you. So I just wanted to share that while I was,
and it's a very powerful story because even at 9 years old, to develop hypertension, that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, exactly. And African Americans are, our high blood pressure is higher than any ethnicity in the whole world.
It's correct. This is correct.
So we already have, and there's a lot of research that's been done, and maybe it's genetics, whatever it is, but we're already salt sensitive.
Right. So I think now, as we talk to the audience about mindful choices, about food, and about exercise, I hope you can interact with Chef Bryce. What's your social media platforms?
I'm on Instagram at chef_Bryce. Facebook, just go into Bryce Fluellen. And then
so can you spell that out for me?
FLUELLEN, so like flu and then Ellen.
Great.
But Instagram is really a great place to catch me. And I'm actually I'm going to launch a social media or internet show called How the Heck Do You Do That?
Oh, that's great.
Where I give people tips on a technique of cooking tips, on health tips, etc. Just something that'll be, like a minute long.
Yes.
Because I always have people ask me like, how do I do X, Y, and Z? How do I do? And I realized like, at first I'm like, well, nowadays you can just Google everything and you kind of figure it out. But I'm figuring, they're coming to me
because they trust you.
Because they trust me.
Exactly.
So let me give something back to all the love that I've gotten and do this quick show and just say, how the heck do you do that? And then show people how to do it. So
just having a web seminar like that, webinar is going to help a lot of people.
Yeah, I hope so.
Because all of us, even myself as the fantastic cook I am.
Pat yourself on the back.
Pat myself on the back.
Pat yourself on the back.
That we all need tips,
Yes.
especially someone like you. I mean, a well-trained culinary artist. I mean, I think. And what did you train, Chef Bryce?
So I actually worked in restaurants, like starting in college and then throughout after college. And then I actually went to a culinary school in West LA. A gentleman by the name of Chef Eric. Small school, no more than 15 students at a time for a year and a half program, just to kind of get the basics.
Yes.
But I always tell people, like I was saying earlier, I'm a student. I don't know everything. I don't try to know everything. But what I do is something that's my passion. I'm reading. I'm on the internet. I'm looking at stuff. I'm learning about different food techniques on a day-to-day basis. So if you're passionate, some kids say, they want to be cooks or chefs. I always tell them that this is a lifelong journey.
Yes.
Like they think that because they watch TV and they see something that they can be a chef in like maybe 6 months or a year.
No.
And I tell them, like, when I was in culinary school for a year, I would still come home and cut an onion for about an hour just to practice on that. So if it's something that you love, which you already know,
absolutely,
then you put the time in continually. If it's something, if you're just trying to be a better cook, I would say that also read, play around with different recipes.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to make a mistake. Play around with different spices. Don't just use salt and pepper.
Right.
Get your, go to the store, get different spices, and mix and match and see what you like. And that way you'll become better. But you don't come better. You don't become better at something if you never do it.
No,
like
you got to
people
practice.
Think, why am I not a good cook?
Right.
How much do you cook? Oh, I don't. Well, how are you going to become
it's
better?
not going to happen. Exactly.
It's like
exactly.
you're just wishing that.
You're wishing
I wish I was a better cook, but
exactly.
I never cooked.
Never cooked though.
Okay.
Well, what about restaurants in the future, Chef Bryce? What are your thoughts there?
Man, you know, the crazy thing about that, Doctor, is that I had a vision to open my own. That's why I started a catering company. I actually had a restaurant that I was trying to open, and I had different investors that were interested, and then the economy fell flat.
Yes.
So I had a mentor who came to me and said, "Hey, Bryce, why don't you do catering until the economy comes back, and then you can build your name up." But what happened is, in the midst of doing that, and then now what I do, I don't even really have a thirst to open a restaurant.
Right.
I mean, restaurants.
You even have the time too.
You have the time, and restaurants are a very, 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 very challenging business.
Yes.
They take up a lot of your time. I've helped people, consulted with people who open restaurants. It can drain your finances. It can ruin marriages. I've seen that.
Right.
So I don't know if that. Now, if somebody came to me and said, "I'll give you $2 million, don't give it back to me. Can you open a restaurant?" Yes.
Right.
So if you're out there, just
you're
do
waiting.
it. I'm waiting for you. $2 million. Hey, you don't need it back.
You can have
you
a
just want to
sustained.
help people be healthier. Give it to me.
You can do it. Well, now, do you have an opportunity to travel over the country doing everything with the American Heart Association?
I actually traveled. This wasn't American Heart Association, but I actually went to did a Soul Train cruise just recently, and did a healthy, fun cooking demo.
And what was that now? Soul Train cruise?
It's actually, you said when was it?
Yeah. What is that exactly?
So it's actually, you remember the Soul Train brand, the show?
I do remember that. Yes.
Back in
yes.
Don Cornelius.
Yes.
So
yes.
basically, now they have a cruise where they have all those artists that were on Soul Train, like. So it was Smokey Robinson, The Whispers, OJ's,
Really?
Stephanie Mills, Howard Hewitt. All these artists go on this cruises every year. So it was just a couple weeks ago. We were in Ocho Rios, Jamaica, Grand Cayman Islands, and then the Bahamas. So on that cruise, I actually did a fun cooking showdown with a comedian by the name of Bill Bellamy.
I know who that is.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yes,
we had a
yes,
great
yes,
time.
yes.
Yeah, so we had a great time. I've also, been to done different food conferences across the United States and spoke about, what I do in health and wellness. So
Yes.
I love to do that and get out and just, spread the word.
That's fantastic. Soul Train cruise. That sounds very interesting.
It is. You would love it. You would love it. Next year, I think they're going to be in Belize and Cozumel.
Okay, I'm going to follow up on that. That would be. Belize is supposed to be extraordinarily beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, Cozumel also. I will follow up on that.
Okay, I'll give you the information.
Definitely give me that.
Yes.
Now, for yourself, Chef Bryce, when you look at the evolution of food on television with television shows, do you think they're having a great impact in changing the consciousness of what people choose to eat?
That's a great question. I don't know if, from a health perspective.
Yeah, health perspective.
I don't know so much from a health perspective this is changing. I think it's giving a transparency of the industry that wasn't there.
Yes.
And now people are a lot more aware and conscious of different foods.
Yes.
Does it actually impact, I would say it doesn't necessarily, the older generation, so the millennials, I think it is impacting them and making them make healthier choices. People who are a little bit older, I don't know if it's having that same impact. But I do see that, from the influence of food and the evolution of food being on TV, there's been a lot of changes in the industry. If you look at, different concepts, they're trying to bring healthier alternatives
Absolutely.
to the table. So I think that whole pulling that curtain back and that people are actually able to see what goes on in the food world is bringing that awareness. But I don't know if it's necessarily translating to people eating healthier. Yeah.
Well,
I think it's, I don't even know if it's making people cook more. I think it's an entertainment thing a lot of times where people are just, want to be entertained and watching.
Right.
I don't know. For me, sometimes I get inspiration from that. So I may watch that and be like, oh, I want to make that and make it a different way.
Right.
But, I get inspiration from different things. Like I'll get it from that, or I may, just one day be looking at an ingredient and think, oh, what if I did it this way? Or
Yes.
I'll go to the farmer's market and taste something and talk to a vendor and a farmer and be like, oh, wow, I'm going to try this and maybe do it this way at home. So
you do find inspiration from it, some.
Yeah.
Now, what about writing a book? Is that on the horizon for you also?
Yeah. I definitely want to write a book, and I'm working on writing something that really talks about food and how food is a vehicle for not only helping you physically, but also mentally and spiritually.
Absolutely.
One of the stories I'll share with you real quick is that one time I did a food to table event, garden to table event for a school that we work with kids who are abused, every abuse that you can maybe think of, physically, mentally. One of the girls who helped me, we were prepping some stuff, and she said, I'm trying to get my 8-year-old brother to stop eating chicken nuggets, and he won't do it. He doesn't know how unhealthy that stuff can be. And I said, well, give him some time, but great, good job on influencing, being a big sister. Would you share that story when we do a demo before the event? She's like, no, I don't talk in front of people. I'm shy. So I get up and do a demo and telling people what we're going to eat. She says, stop. And she starts sharing that story.
Does she really?
Yeah. So afterwards, the director of the school, the principal, her teacher, everybody came up to me and said, what did you do? I said, what do you mean? It's like, you don't understand. That girl's been at this school for 6 months. When she came here, she was so shy and sensitive that we had to get 2 people to walk her off the bus. Then we had to have a counselor sit with her every day because she didn't want to talk.
Wow.
I said, I didn't do anything. I said, food is that connector.
Yes, it is.
And it's also, everybody wants to feel like they have a purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
And that, what they do or who they are matters.
Right.
And so when you're dealing with food and you're having conversation, which we did, and encouraging, that's all I did. And they were like, well, for her to get up and talk in front of adults,
that's a big
and talk,
deal.
period.
Big deal.
That's amazing. So I want to share stories like that to make people understand that food is this vehicle for change.
No, that's a great story, Chef Bryce, because it reminds us that when children feel safe, they will talk.
Yes. Yeah,
when they feel like they're not being judged and that there's inclusivity, they will give you truth. That's what they are anyway.
Yeah.
Great story, Chef. It's a great story.
Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you for being on the show today. I want to remind everyone to please contact Chef Bryce if you want a phenomenal speaker, someone who has a wealth of knowledge to share with you about cooking properly, choosing foods properly, as well as the joy of what I love, of course, is exercise and well-being. Chef Bryce is the guy. He's an extraordinary speaker. He has an extraordinary platform for being of service to the community, and he is of service to any community. Doesn't matter the color. He's for human beings. He's about heart health. Everybody, if you're living, you have a heart. He's about getting your health back in shape and about getting you to the highest levels of fitness, health, and well-being. Any closing statements, Chef Bryce?
No, I mean, you just made a statement earlier about the judge part, and I just want to say that people that it's really about showing people love and not judging them, and so people who are trying to make change yourself or you're trying to change somebody in your family, I would encourage you to do it with love and give and patience and give people time, because we all need that, and that's something that will make sure that people will feel like that they can make that change.
Absolutely. And that they're worthy. That they're already validated by being a human being. They should be loved and respected.
Exactly.
Well, you heard it from great Chef Bryce with the American Heart Association. Happy Heart Month, everyone. And, of course, this is February, which is Valentine's Month. And, of course, it is African American History Month. So I hope you're doing your best to go out into the community and embrace people of difference and to know that it's all about inclusivity. So be kind to your neighbors, be wonderful to the veterans. They're the true heroes of America, those men and women. And I want to remind you to interact with us on Facebook. My platform is Dr. Levi Harrison. My website, of course, is drleviharrison.com. And right now we have 13,000 subscribers on YouTube, so really happy about that. On our way to 1.5 million. And then secondly, of course, I want to really thank all the subscribers to Facebook also. We're really, really happy to have you join us. And again, our show is about empowerment, education, and uplifting you to be your best possible you. We want to remind you to make mindful choices so you can have a phenomenal, optimal life. Take care. This is Dr. Levi. I'll see you next week.